Well, good afternoon. Hello again. It is me. I am here talking today about quite a controversial subject which will affect or implicate, thousands of people, maybe even millions, but actually relates to is the God of the Bible, is the God of love, the God of the Bible. Is he a homophobe? Is he homophobic? Therefore, if we are to do God's will, if we want to inherit God's kingdom, does that mean that we also must be homophobic too? So, let's crack on with this one. So first and foremost, we're living in a different world now. Things have utterly changed beyond any sort of shape or recognition to the world that I was brought up with. I was brought up in the early 60s in a large industrial town, and everybody had 2.5 children. It was family orientated, and there was nobody called Jimmy two dads or Jenny two mums. Everybody lived with a mum and dad. Occasionally there was, oh, did you hear that they're divorced? Or did you hear that that family, there's a lodger living with them, probably was a lodger, but the rumours were he was not just a lodger. And there was it was just, that's the way it was. There wasn't like 4 kids and every one of them had a different dad. It was different time at the time. It was an uncomplicated time that I was brought up with. And it was just that's just the way it was. It was a normal fact of life that people got brought up by their mum and dads, and that's the way it was. I can't remember anybody at all ever or being even suggested that somebody that I was homosexual, lesbian at all. And all the schools I went to, and I grew up in a large housing estate. It didn't happen. But fast forward to 2019, and we are living in a different world. We're right queer old world that we're living in today, to just demonstrate how things have changed. I live in a really, really, really small village. It is toting, to quote a Scottish word. And the road I actually live in, the village I live in, has less houses in it than some roads that I've lived in the past. And I live in a terrace, a Victorian terrace, where there's 15 houses, but only 13 people live in them, because 2 are empty. Mostly populated by old people, or kids that grew up and went away ages ago. There's 3 houses at the end of our terrace, bungalows, and the other side of the railway line, there's small Scottish white cottages, all full of old people. There's very few families here, and of the few families that have been in this village, I've known them all because they went to school with my son, so we'd all see each other walking to and from the school. I'll tell you about them very quickly. My son is in Glasgow University. He's not gay. Well, he may be, I don't know, but anyway, he hasn't come out and he hasn't come home, Dad, and says, Dad, this is my very good friend Billy. That's not happened yet. But one of the, like I said, there's mostly old people on a terrace. There's hardly any kids. There's 2 boys live 2 doors down. One of them I never see, and if we had guns available in this country, I'm sure he would be would be behind the only mass shooting in Scotland, apart from the one in Dunblane. I'm sure that he's got the potential to be a mass shooter, but he's a very strange character. I don't know what his sexual orientation is. His son, though, has actually come out and made it known that he's more into boys than girls. And he said this when he was, 14 or whatever. There's another girl, just a little bit younger than Benjamin. She has come out and decided she's actually a man trapped inside a woman's body. She's wanted to get the hormone treatment to, grow a beard and that sort of stuff, and the mum and dad were worried, and I said to her, look, maybe you should wait till you're older, because once you go down hormone treatment, there is no going back. As you know, teenagers, it can be a strange time. Your hormones are up and down. You don't know where you're going, so probably not the best time to decide that you are orientated one way or the other. The other side of the village, we have, there's only 3 young people over there. One of them's a goth. one of them's a bit of a hard guy, and his brother has decided that he's actually a woman trapped in a man's body. He's a woman trapped in a man's body, and he's known as Phyllis. I don't know. He's got long hair and dresses like a woman, and everybody has to call him by his new name. At the end of my terrace, there's 3 bungalows. In one of those bungalows is a gay Mohican. He is a gay man. He has a Mohican haircut, and he's in his 60s, but he's been gay forever, so you know, it's no news there. At the end of my terrace are 2 women who live together. One of the women has children, and they are lesbians. One of them looks like a woman, or if you mean it looks female, and the other one looks like a sort of, you know, not particularly attractive looking bloke, but it's not because she's got big massive breasts. But anyway, they have children, and the woman who doesn't have the big breasts and the short haircut and the dungarees, she was in an abusive relationship, and obviously, you know, found this person, fell in love with them, and you know, they seem happy, contented, but they end up my terrace. So in other words, it's a really small village, hardly anybody in it, and we have 2 trans, 1 bisexual, probably gay, a gay, and 2 lesbians. You know, and and like I said, my village is smaller than streets that I used to live in. It is just a changed world, and you have to say, well, how's that happened? You know, why have things changed so much since I was a young person? Well, in one respect, you can say that we all influenced by the things we read, see, and watch. And even when you look into the entertainment industry today, things have moved along in exactly the way they have in my village. For instance, I'm a big Trekkie fan. I love the Trek, love the Star Trek. And, you know, you get all the different franchises went off. The very latest one, not only do you have the token gay man as part of the cast, you have 2 for the price of 1. You have 2 gay men. It is bizarre. You have 2 gay men. Doctor Who. Again, there's a homosexual guy who took over the Doctor Who series and started to write gay characters into it. One specific gay character called Captain Jack had his own spin-off series, and enough everybody he met was a gay like him. And you think to yourself, where's this going? Why is there so much priority on your sexual orientation, which is manifest in the entertainment industry? You know, at the end of the day is, you know, if you want to be gay, be gay. But my God, the most important thing that we're dealing with today, I think, is the environment, and whether depending what you put in your mouth when you go to bed at night, has no bearing at all on the environment. Yet there are people now choosing what they put in their mouth during the day, and we all eat 3 times, or depending how greedy you are, maybe 5 times, and people are making a serious decision to be a veggie or be a vegan, and decide, you know, what you know, animal products they have, all sorts of things, you know, their impact on their diet, on their own body, on the environment. That is a bigger issue that we have today than somebody's sexuality. And yet I doubt we're ever going to see where a mainstream TV series is going to have the characters all of a sudden going to say, with all this, some of you've spent a lot of time getting to know, all of a sudden the big reveal is he comes out and states that he's not a meat eater and he's actually a vegan. Because if somebody like that did that, then you would get a lot of people would say, oh, hold on a second, right, I like this character. They're turned into a vegan. Maybe I should think about being a vegan too. I'm not saying that's what gay people do, but I think when you get people who are wondering, and all of a sudden they get their favourite pop star or actors just absolutely no problem at all being gay, they may say, well, actually, maybe I'm gay too. Maybe I'll go that way to where naturally they wouldn't go to that arrangement. And the way it's working out today is that all of a sudden being straight is now the new gay. We're going to end up being in a scenario where at some point in the future, and it may not be that far away, where you're going to get a guy's going to sit down one day with his parents and go, Dad, yes, son, we're listening. Dad, yes, son, we're both listening. I've got something to tell you. I've been keeping it a secret for a while. I've even hidden it from you. But I've been a closet straight guy for many years. And the look of horror on the two gay parents. Are you sure about the son? Yeah. I don't like cock at all. I'm actually into breasts, really into breasts. And in fact, I'm having a relationship with somebody. I'm having a straight relationship with somebody, and I think I'm in love. And then the two parents turn around and go, look, obviously it's a difficult time for you. It doesn't mean we're going to love you any less, and we'll support you through this difficult time. What I'm saying may seem farcical, fanciful, ridiculous, but the way the world is going at the moment, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in another 10, 20 or 30 years? We've got people now that want bringing up their children as not gender specific. The children have hardly enough time going through what they want out of their lives. When they come to 16 and 17, what sort of, where should I go with my education? Do I want to be a fireman? Do I want to be a policeman? Do I want to be a politician? Oh, I can't think of any of those things yet because I can't even decide whether I want to be a boy or a girl yet. It's nonsense, because some parents who think they're being so hip and cool and casual about saying, well, I don't want to enforce my sort of, the stereotypical designations of sexuality on my children. Well, if that's the case, let's refer back to, which I think is really important, what you eat. Is that the case then, that you don't force them to be either meat eater, a vegan or vegetarian, to every single time that you make a meal say, well, all the choices are there, there's a bit of meat, a bit of vegetarian, is it all there every single meal, to the point you go, you know what, this is ridiculous, can you just choose whether you like meat or not? Let's not do this for like 15 years, that I'm making different meals just because I don't want to suppose that you're a meat eater, a vegan or a vegetarian. It's just become so silly now that I know teachers who, when they go into their class, they have to address the class as good morning non-gender specific people. They can't say good morning boys and girls, how are you? Oh, how dare you refer to me in any of those gender? You're just, don't refer to me. I haven't decided myself yet. It's just gone so silly. We've got actresses and actors now actually thinking that within the Oscars ceremonies, that instead of saying the best actress award or actor award or a female and male role, that in fact it's non-gender specific. And that you just have awards for, regardless of what sex you are. Well, that'd be a very short Oscar ceremony, wouldn't it? You could just cut out half of it. But then, of course, you'd have to fill it out a bit and say, you'd have then awards for, I don't know, the best actor playing an obese role. You'd have actors going up, and then of course there'd be the controversy around the fact that actually that actor isn't really obese. He was putting on a fat costume, and then of course all of a sudden you can see all the obese actors saying that was unfair. It's not really fat. He's not fat at all. Where do we go with this? Do we get people, awards for people who are of height restriction? Same thing, somebody goes and gets the award and it comes out, hold on a second, that person's not, isn't restricted by height, is normally tall, but CGI had shortened him, so the award should never begin in the first place. Where do we go with this? Where do we start with this? It's like people are identifying themselves as different things now. I could just turn around and identify myself as a black man and say to people, please don't look at the colour of my skin and judge me by the colour of my skin. What you see here, don't judge me by that. Inside I'm a black man. I'm a black man with a 10-inch penis. Really? Well, it's actually 12. Where are we going with this? Now getting men who identify themselves as women, who are athletes, and want to take part in women's races. They're saying, oh no, I'm taking something to reduce my testosterone, so I'm not as strong and I should be able to compete with these. No, you're not. You're taller than them and you're muscular, more strong than them. It doesn't matter what you take. Maybe if you whip off a leg, maybe make it a little bit fairer. Where does this madness stop? It's unbelievable. It really is. The world has gone, it's like I want to go back to the 60s. Well, at least you knew you were playing, at least you knew within reason. It's just gone nonsense. It really, really has. It's gone way over the top. I think we're now far too fixated on people's sexual orientation than what's more important. What's more important, whether somebody's gay, straight or whatever, is whether the person is a nice person or whether they're a twat. I don't care whether you're gay. Are you a nice person? You know, that's the most important thing. And are you helping the environment by your lifestyle choice? It is bizarre. You know, and if you think about people today, I'm going back to Star Trek, going to the fact that you know, you people, you know, there's so much now. If you look at Star Trek, where is the obese representation in the new Star Trek? Where is the fat person who's really struggling, you know, in their Star Trek and outfit? Where's the fat person who goes on to be beamed to the planet? When they try to beam him, they're struggling because he's so massive. Where's the grey representation in Star Trek? You know, where is it? Where are all these older people? It's just like all young, good-looking people, and we'll throw in a few homosexuals as well, because we've got to represent minority groups. Well, what about, I'm sure, you know, where's the Chinese representation? You know what I'm going on about here? It's just, where are all the representations of all the peoples and all the different worlds who they probably are bigger than how many gays there are in the world? You know, where's the handicap representation? Why isn't there more disabled people? Probably there's more disabled people than there are gay people. Where's their representation in TV franchises? Why don't we see more, disabled actors in these sorts of things? That's more important than somebody's sexual orientation. But apparently, as long as we cover their bases, as long as we cover the gay base, we're fine. It's just bizarre. It really is. Now, if you're still with us, because, you know, at the end of the day it sounds like I'm coming over a bit homophobic. I really am not. You know, at the end of the day is, you know, if you want to be gay, that's fine. But I'm just giving you the difference between the world that I was brought up with, the world today, and now I think, you know, the fixation has gone. It's gone all warped. It's gone really, really warped. Now, of course, the channel's about Jehovah's Witnesses and their beliefs discussed. So, if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, or if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you may or may know that if you're a practicing homosexual, that you cannot, different to other religions, you cannot teach in the congregation. In other religions, they allow a practicing homosexual or lesbian who's even living with their partner in the manse or whatever it is, to give sermons on the Sunday. To give sermons, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to be part of the congregation. Jehovah's Witnesses, similar to other religions, if you're a practicing gay person, you are out. You know, quicker than you can say, pass a lipstick. You are out of there. And it, you know, for somebody who's clearly from, you know, the get-go is gay, and I'm absolutely not denying the fact that people are born gay. People are born gay. I still think people are affected by what they see, which may, you know, when they're not too sure, are influenced by their friends or their association. For instance, if you're brought up in a house where you're all Manchester United fans, I find it really hard that when you're 16, you all of a sudden turn around to your mum and dad and say, oh, by the way, I want... Can we go and see Manchester City? Don't buy me that United shirt yet. I want to wear the blue top. I don't see many people do that because you follow the environment you're in. Now, I don't think anybody's particularly born a United City fan, but you're affected by your environment. But being gay, I think sometimes you may be affected by your environment. The example of this is, you have two gay men adopt a child, and the child ends up being gay. Who would have thought? Probably because the reason why they've turned up gay is because it was normal for them to think of, well, this is what you do. When you fall in love with somebody of the same sex and you marry them. So that shows if that child had been adopted and brought up by a straight couple, the child probably would have been brought up straight. But there's no denying, it's absolutely established fact that some people are hardwired when they're born. It doesn't matter what influence they have, that they are attracted to the opposite sex. They are gay. They are gay. It's completely normal for them to have those feelings. They are gay. It's, you know, it's an established fact. But if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you have, have gay tendencies, what a horrible life you're about to lead. And I know this because I know gays who were brought up in Jehovah's Witnesses, and I know what they went through. You know what they went through? There's one in Ellesmere Port. He was in a family of 6. He was the second eldest, and quite an abusive father. And at an early age, he used to play with his mum's lipstick and hair, and liked to brush his mum's hair. And his mum used to say, for a laugh, "Oh, I think he's going to turn to one of those." Well, funny enough, he did turn into one of those, because he put all that practice that he had playing with his mum's lipstick and makeup, and is now a makeup artist, and is happily married to a man. Unfortunately, his mother and father, because he got disfellowship for being gay, have never ever met their son's husband. Never attended the wedding, never had them round for dinner, because he's disfellowshipped and gay. It is a tragedy. It's an utter tragedy. There's another example in Rutherglen congregation of a guy called Stephen Brown. He turned up out the blue, and I don't know if he'd been there before I joined the congregation. He came in, the sisters absolutely loved this brother, because he was, honestly, he's one of the most caring men I've ever met. When women had, would explain to him the problems, he would listen, and he was genuinely interested. He pioneered, and when you went out doing the ministry, instead of just going straight back to your house, he would street witness all the way back to his house. He the truth burned bright in him. But all the time, he knew he was gay. I was on the work with him, and he told me that his brother had always said to him, "You're a freak, you're a freak." And I'm thinking, freak about what? And he says, "I don't know why he's calling me a freak. He's as bald as a coot. He looks like a freak." I'm thinking, why would he call you a freak? During a answer he gave in the Kingdom Hall once, he put up his hand, and he became very emotional, and he said, it's due to the kind, loving support from the elders that I'm here today. I'm thinking, what's he referring to? Well, that only came out when I was joking with him one day about him being gay. I didn't think he was gay. I thought he was a bit effeminate. But I know, some people think I'm a bit effeminate, and I don't think I'm gay. Well, not yet, time will tell. And I didn't think he was gay at all. I joked about him being gay, and he went and spoke to his best mate, Gus Kelly, who was about to be the best man to, and said, "Did you tell Terry Harrop that I was a homosexual?" Obviously, Gus must have knew that Stephen was gay, but obviously it was only a few people did know that he had gay tendencies. And I don't know whether that made Stephen think that maybe the secret was out. I don't know what happened, but shortly afterwards, he then stood down for the role of being the best man, and he disappeared. And the next thing is he got disfellowshipped. And it was like, Stephen Brown disfellowshipped. This is impossible. He's one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. What could he be disfellowshipped for? I was scratching my head. And my mother-in-law spoke to the elder whose group she was in, that Stephen was in, and said, "Was Stephen Brown disfellowshipped for being a homosexual?" And he said, "Yes, he was." And that was it. And the last time I saw Stephen was he got on a bus with obviously his boyfriend at the time, and they looked like they'd just walked off the set for the Frankie Goes to Hollywood video song Relax. Leather caps, big animal moustache. He just all of a sudden said, "Well, if I'm going to be gay, I'm going to be outrageously gay." He looked like Freddie Mercury in his prime. I don't know what happened to Stephen. I don't know if he eventually turned his back on that way and came back, but what a horrible position to be in, that he wanted to be a witness, he truly wanted to be a witness, but the fact he couldn't fight the fact that he was gay, and he was booted out of that congregation, and everybody was depressed about it. And the other person I knew that was gay in Rutherglen was a guy called Jonathan Saunders. Same thing. It was obvious from an early age he was quite effeminate. He was really into art and whatever it was, and then all of a sudden he's been disfellowshipped for being gay. Then he goes on to be a really famous fashion designer, and yet his mum and dad, because he's disfellowshipped, can't embrace him in what he's achieved, because he can't speak to him. It's an utter tragedy. It's an utter tragedy. But the case in point is, the most important bit about it is where do the witnesses get that from? Have they taken some sort of perverse view of gay people, which is not in the Bible, which is like, as we know, Jehovah's Witnesses do, unfortunately, just make up rules as they go on, and the hard and fast, going beyond the things that are written, and therefore their standpoint on gay people, making them as miserable as possible and booting them out of the congregation and making their lives shit, is it based on the Bible? Well, here we have it. I've tried to look up in the Bible all the different texts which refer to homosexuality or lesbianism, and God's view on both homosexuals and lesbians, on the gay community. And we're not just talking about one scripture here, which is a little bit dicky, a little bit spurious, you can be viewed anyway. We're talking about several. And what I've done is I've printed out different versions from all the different translations that are in the Bible, to just show that it's not one particular Bible is particularly hard on the gay man or the gay woman, but in fact it's a common thread with this verse, whichever translation of the Bible that you care to read. Now, the most famous story in the Bible relating to gay men, which I haven't bothered printing off because I just speak about it, obviously, is the case in point of what had happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, obviously, most people know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where you get the word Sodom, Sod, and sodomize from Sodom and Gomorrah, because two angels went into Sodom and Gomorrah, these two co-joined cities, I believe, or towns, and they went in to see how bad it really was. Lot clocked on, I think, that they were angels in human form, and they said, "Oh, we'll live in the street. We'll just hang around." Sounds a bit, we'll hang around in the gay bar. He says, we'll just hang around in the square here. Now, Lot obviously thought, that's maybe not a good idea, because there's a lot of people in this town are gay. And two fine-looking young men all of a sudden are hanging about in the town square. Might not be a good idea. So he says, no. Come in. You're more than welcome to stay. You've got representatives. You come and stay in my house. But of course, the word is spread very quickly around the town. And it says men from being young and old started battering on Lot's back door. That's a pun, by the way. Started battering on his back door, saying, "Bring them out. We know we've got too many there. Bring them out so we may have intercourse with them." So Lot was thinking, oh my goodness, don't you realise you're wanting to gang bang, two angels of God here? Might not be a good idea. So Lot, who's very quick thinking, thinks, right, what can I do here to alleviate the situation and preserve, my neighbours' lives? I know, I'll actually send out my two virgin daughters out to them. And they can gang rape my daughters. Oh, lovely times. Lovely story from the Bible. Lovely times. You think times are bad in this century, but my God, this is just, we're talking about gang raping his two daughters. He was willing to do it. What a wonderful father. What a wonderful father. So, of course, as we know, the door got shut, Lot got pulled back in, the angels shut the door, got him and his wife and his two daughters to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, and then literally every homosexual in the town of Sodom and Gomorrah was horribly burned to death. Fire and sulphur consumed Sodom and Gomorrah, and there wasn't any trace of gayness. There was no gay pride in Sodom and Gomorrah. All those activities had ceased because he burnt them all to death. And apparently the remnants of that city are apparently under the Dead Sea, where allegedly supposed to happen, if this story really happened. But there's the first instance of how God views the gay man and gay woman. Burn them to death. So we crack on now. We're going on a few centuries on to now the Mosaic times, when we've got a large nation of Israel, maybe about 1 million people. So has God's viewpoint of the homosexual man or woman changed at all? Is he a little bit more understanding? Does he understand that men and women are born gay and there's nothing wrong with it at all? It's perfectly natural. Well, let's just think. Well, let's crack on to Leviticus 18:22. So as you can see here, there's So I've printed off quite a few lines. Anyway, I'll just go through a few of it. Basically, the nub of this is it says, you must not have sexual relations with a man as you would a woman. That is a hateful sin. So this is the direction from God to Moses to the nation of Israel, that you can't have sexual relations with a man as you would a woman. It's a hateful sin. So it's a sin. You must not have physical relations with a man as you would a woman. That is a hated sin. Never have sexual intercourse with a man as a woman. It is disgusting. And then it goes on to words like all list there: detestable, detestable, abomination, 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 abomination. So basically, God does not like the gay man having sexual relations with another gay man. Not into it at all. So if a gay man in the nation of Israel is found out to be a gay man, and they find out who he was being gay with that night, what's to happen to them? Well, let's see. Down at Leviticus 20:13, if a man goes to bed with a man as with a woman, both of them are committed an abomination. There's that word again. They must be put to death. Their blood is on them, so they're to be put to death. No ifs, buts, hows, maybes, or whys. None of this. Look, I've been gay all my life. I've fallen in love with this man. We're a loving, happy, consensual relationship. No. If two men get found out to being gay, they are put to death. This is direction from the God of love to Moses to the nation of Israel. Okay. And it isn't just that one verse, it's death, 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 die, be put to death. The penalty for homosexual acts is death to both parties, they brought it on themselves. When a man has sexual intercourse with another man as a woman, disgusting, put to death. So basically, all the translations for this scripture of Leviticus 20:13 refer to a homosexual man being caught with another man. Both of them are to be put to death. So make up your minds whether that's the instructions from somebody who's homophobic or not. So let's crack on. Well, we've moved on now. We've moved on from those, let's say, those Neanderthal times where all of a sudden, it was a harsh rule. There were many different rules. Maybe things have changed. Maybe now Jesus has sort of got rid of the old Mosaic law and said, you don't have to do that. Circumcision, you don't have to do that. Things have changed. So maybe now, Jesus' ministry has brought in a more loving, compassionate viewpoint of people who are born gay. Maybe now things have changed. So let's examine a few scriptures in the death of Jesus, the start of the Christian congregation, whereupon now we're going to look about what the new guidance is if you consider that how to deal with a gay man or a gay woman. So we're going to Romans 1:26. Now Romans 1:20, this chapter here basically deals with man's dealings, God's dealings with men, and the ones he didn't find particularly well. So in other words, we see this a lot in the Bible where they refer to things that have happened in the past and say that's an example that things haven't changed, or what's going to happen in the future. So what things didn't God like in the past? Well, he's on about the people who sort of erred, on the brown side of the force that God didn't like. Well, Romans 1:26 says, God let them follow their own evil desires. Women no longer wanted to have sex in a natural way, and they did things with each other that were not natural. So we're talking about here, lesbians are getting a mention. It's not just men. It was obviously in Leviticus. It was men. It's women who get it now this time. It's women here. So all this scripture here, I'll go. Keeps on going. It refers to women having sexual relations with other women. Goes on. For this reason, God gave them over to their own disgrace and vile passions, inflamed with lust for one another. Men and women ignored the natural order and exchanged normal sexual relations for homosexuality. Women engaged in lesbian conduct, and men committed shameful acts with men, receiving themselves the due penalty for their deviation. So in other words, it's saying that God punished in the past people who became engaged in sexual relations with people of the same sex. So this is in Romans. Now this is the instruction to say, well, this is what he did in the past with these people. Romans 1:27. And then Also says, also in the same way, the males trade natural sexual relations with females, burn with lust for each other. Males perform shameful actions with males. They pay back with a penalty they deserve for their mistake in their own bodies. The same thing. It's given this example. They were gay, and God punished them. God punished them. This is, the example in the Bible, probably maybe referring to Sodom and Gomorrah, maybe. The example in the Bible should be the example that we should have now. And in the same way, their males, after banning natural sexual relations with females, were consumed with their lust for one another. Males perform indecent acts with males and receive themselves the penalty that is fitting for the perversion. That penalty is death. So Romans, there we go. Just to say, that's the example now. Things haven't changed. Well, so we can see how things haven't changed. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 9. It's on about here who are going to inherit the kingdom of God. Or do you not know that wrongdoers will not inherit God's kingdom? Do not be deceived. Neither sexually immoral ones, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homoerotic partners, nor homosexuals. Now, let's see. Homosexuality, sex with males, buggerers, practicing homosexuality. It goes on and on. It goes on and on and on with this. Effeminate, passive homosexuals, nor homosexuals. In other words, what this scripture here is saying, that if you are a homosexual, you're just as bad as an idolater or a deceiver or whatever it is, that you will not inherit God's kingdom. This is there's no ambiguity here at all. You will not inherit God's kingdom. You will not inherit. 1 Timothy says, again, for damning once again, that they are people who are sexually unfaithful and people who have intercourse with the same sex, homosexuals, the same sexual relations, people of the same sex, homosexuals, homosexuality. It just goes on that I stopped actually highlighting anymore. So in other words, what can we say? So we can quite clearly see, looking at the Bible example, that the God of the Bible, the God of love of the Bible, doesn't accept that it is natural for men and women to be gay. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and got rid of all the gays in the village because they were gay. They were gay. The fact that they wanted to gang rape two angels, maybe they didn't get to gang rape them, but obviously he thought they were deserving to death. And obviously I don't think everybody who was gay was wanting to bang these angels. They were probably just being gay somewhere else. But basically they were killed. We then look at the instruction given to the Israelites. Homosexuality was to be banned. If you were therefore found to have engaged in homosexual acts, you were to be put to death. We go on to the time post-Jesus. Jesus doesn't mention it, but clearly his Bible writers afterwards clearly mention it, refer to those times in Sodom and Gomorrah, and make it quite clear that if you want to do God's will and enter into God's kingdom, that you have to avoid being homosexual, because homosexuals and lesbians are not going to inherit God's kingdom. So that is why Jehovah's Witnesses have the stand they have. That is why they are in essence homophobic, because the God of the Bible is homophobic. If you are saying to me right now, hold on a second, I'm gay and I believe I will inherit God's kingdom. I'm gay and I believe that God loves me. Well, I'm sorry. Explain those verses to me. Explain how you would have defended your right to choose your sexual preference if you were an Israelite back then. Explain how to say, hold on a second, God, you've made me in your image and I've always been gay. You've known this. Why are you stoning me to death or burning me to death? And why are you telling me now that I can't inherit your kingdom? That's what I look forward to. Explain to me, if you are gay, or know somebody's gay and you think that it's fine. Imagine if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness and you've left the witnesses and you just said, yes, they've got a lot of things wrong there, but I still love the Bible, I still love my Jesus, I still love God, I still think he's a God of love, and I love all the things about Jesus. Well, sorry, again, I've said this so many times, you cannot cherry pick the Bible. You can't look at the Bible and say, I like this, I don't like that, I don't like that. There hasn't been, as far as I am aware, that God has brought out another book called Further Revelations, where all of a sudden he's actually said being gay is normal, it's not perverted, it is fine, and if you're gay you will inherit his kingdom. There hasn't been any further revelations. That's it. All our decisions, or our beliefs, are based on what's in the Bible, and that's why Jehovah's Witnesses have taken that stand, and not just them as well. There are other religions who take the same strong stand against homosexuality. How homosexuals are permitted and lesbians to be ministers in congregation is bewildering. You know, when they give a sermon on a Sunday morning, what do they do? Right, okay, let's turn over the Bible, talk about no, we're not doing Sodom and Gomorrah. Right, okay, let's talk about the laws in no, we're not doing Leviticus. Right, let's move on to God's, okay, let's talk about Jesus. You know, how can they live their lives, love this God, believe in this God, love the Bible, and yet see things in them which clearly condemn their sexual orientation? You know, showing that God is a homophobe. And if we want to do God's will, we apparently must be homophobic too, which is why Jehovah's Witnesses have this stand they have. The horrible thing about this is because right now there are countries in the world who've based their civil law on the Quran and on scriptures in the Bible, and if you are found out to be gay and engage in lesbian or homosexual acts, you are put to death. You are stoned to death now in some countries in the world, just because you've fallen in love with somebody of the same sex and it's consensual and you're both adults. You are put to death. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and that's the way it is. So yet again, you know, I've said this so many times, that the Bible is probably one of the most, you know, destructive and damaging books ever written after the Quran. They're both, you know, head for head on you know, and being really bad for people. The God of the Bible is a homophobe. The God of the Bible wants us to follow his steps, so we are supposed to be homophobic too. It's quite simple. Don't be a homophobic. So don't follow the God of the Bible, because he is. It's your choice. Anyway, it's a controversial subject. That's my say on it. You may disagree or agree with some, all of it, or none of it at all. But I leave you that with it. And yeah, it's a strange old world that we live in. And that book is even stranger. Bye-bye.